My name is Hannes. I'm part of the team behind one of the fastest growing apps in the marketplace named JXL. So what is this JXL? It is an all-in-one issue editor and organizer. I want to say it is the all-in-one issue organizer and editor for Jira that combines the power of Jira with the simplicity of Sheets. It is also the Rising Star Marketplace App of the Year. But hang on a second, let's get back one step. I think we all know the power of Jira, but what is it about Sheets? Well, Sheets or spreadsheets are really almost as old as personal computing. That thing that you see behind me, that was released in 1979. Spreadsheets today obviously don't quite look like that anymore, but are really incredibly powerful, incredibly polished computing powerhouses that are table stakes in many, many productivity tools. We all know Excel, we all know Google Sheets, but it is really part of many, many products these days. One of the productivity tools that so far did not yet have a really good sheet experience is Jira. And that is what JXL is here to change. As we will see today, JXL won't only make your Jira easier and faster, it can also help to make your ITSM easier and faster. And yeah, I guess let's have a look into it and see that thing in action. So what you are seeing behind me is Jira Cloud. It looks very much the same in Data Center as well. We are within a project, and because we have JXL installed, we see this additional concept of sheets introduced to Jira. You can have as many sheets as you want in your project, in your Jira. And every sheet is essentially three things. A sheet has a name. It has a so-called sheet scope, which is either a JQL statement or a filter. And most importantly, it has a so-called column configuration. So depending on what problem you're trying to solve, and that is different for everyone and for every use case, you can build your perfect table view within Jira. So you see in this case, we already have quite a few columns added to our sheet. We have story points here, we have attachments, we have the time tracking stuff. And we can remove stuff, we can move things around, and we can add more columns. There are, I guess, hundreds of columns available. A column can be any piece of issue data. It can be an issue field, but it can also be a custom field, of course. And there are many what we call smart columns. So these are things that aren't natively available in Jira, but we surface them to use through JXL. That could be the time and status, for example, or the number of components, labels. There are many, many of them. I'm gonna cancel that operation. But now that we've set up our sheet, this is where the actual fun part begins, because what we can do now is we can start working on our issues very much like we would do that in Google Sheets in Excel. So what I can do now is I can navigate around here. I just hit enter, make my change to the issue, hit enter again to confirm that change, and I just updated an issue. And I can do that with any fields. I can do that with the priority. I can do a status change. Let's close this one. You get the idea. What I can also do, and for me as a very, very lazy person, this is kind of one of my favorite features really, is I can do bulk editing via copy-paste. So let's say we want to close a number of issues. What I can do is I can simply copy this value here, paste it there, and I just close 3 issues. It can't get any easier than that. We can do all the other spreadsheet table stakes like sorting and filtering, of course. You see this is all very snappy, very quickly. Just gonna unset that. So these are really kind of the spreadsheet basics that you would expect from a spreadsheet app, but to us they are really more of a foundation, because what we do is we build many advanced features on top of the spreadsheet table stakes. For example, you can very, very easily calculate sum ups. So I just enabled that feature. You see there's this special row on top of the screen now where I'm getting aggregations of my data. If I change or remove the story points here, that number will go down. I can combine that very, very nicely with the grouping feature. So I can group my issues by any field. Let's say I'm grouping by assignee. You see Daniel's issues, you see my issues. And I can also view my issues in hierarchy. I can view them in the default hierarchy. So that's the usual epic story subtask hierarchy that many of us are familiar with. So you see that the issue is now organized by the hierarchy. But I can also configure completely custom hierarchies or so-called structures where I can combine any number of parent-child relationships with groupings, with sum-ups. I won't go into too much detail here, but if we enable this one, you can see that we end up with a pretty sophisticated system of issues. Not everybody needs that, but you can configure it depending on the use case. A thing that we added quite recently is conditional formatting. So you can define certain conditions, and if these conditions are fulfilled, then you can highlight issues. So in this case, we're highlighting based on the issue type, but also highlighting unassigned issues. So if I unassign these two issues, they will be highlighted as well. So what we're seeing here is kind of that works across all of Jira. That works across projects of any type, be it software, be it work management, but also be it service management, of course. What we have seen is that JXL is also a fantastic tool for service management at scale. So what we're seeing here is a sheet in a JSM project. And you can see that we also support all the service management fields. So here you have a number of SLAs. The data isn't too great, but you get the idea. We support organizations, the request type. There's also a number of smart columns that aren't available in plain Jira, but are available through JXL, like the request channel, or a number of comment-related things, like the last response to the customer. Another thing that is available here is affected services and any kind of assets. So you may be familiar with the new assets capability that has been launched. You can edit these assets like any other field and also use them across things like grouping or sum ups, etc. One thing that we've found very, very useful is that you can actually do sheets across projects. So I'm just going to switch to another site that we've been using. And what you can see here is a pretty extensive sheet used for employee onboarding. And you can see it combines tickets from different projects. So you can see the actual service desk request here, but you can also see the linked tasks from other projects that could be something like, hey, please set up the hardware for this user, or please set up the accounting for that user, whatever. Yeah, so switching back to my slides, let's really, really quickly recap that. So what JXL is doing is introducing the sheets to your Jira site. You can have multiple sheets per project. A sheet is virtually three things. It has a name, a title. It has a JQL statement, which defines which issues are part of the sheet. And it has a so-called column configuration, depending on what problem you're trying to solve. While configuring your sheet, you're adding, removing, rearranging columns. And once you're done with that, you can actually start working on your issues. You can highlight, sort, and filter. You can copy-paste, my favorite feature. And you can use a number of advanced features ranging from issue grouping, issue hierarchies, to conditional formatting. On the notion of easier, faster ITSM, there's also a number of great capabilities. There's, as you've seen before, all standard JSM fields are supported. There is a number of so-called JSM smart columns. We saw the request channel. We saw the latest response to the customer, but there are many, many more. Assets and affected services are fully supported. We saw cross-project queues, which I think is quite exciting. And with the inline filtering and things like that, you can very easily do things like per agent queues, for example. Of course, any JSM use case will benefit from all the power of JXL. JXL works across any project and of any type. One thing that is that I want to highlight is, I don't want to go into too much of the technical details, but the way that JXL works, we don't store any data. The data that you see in front of you, that's your data. It lives in your Jira side. There is no backhand or any data storage that we operate. So your data is in Atlassian's hands, and Atlassian will take good care of it. JXL available in the marketplace across all hosting modes, cloud, data center, and also server. And feedback so far has been really, really positive, really, really encouraging. It's in successful use at some of the most innovative companies in the world. And I'm sure you can get some value out of it as well. If you want to try it, just find me outside. I'll be here for another half an hour at least, and have a look. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.